Have you ever done an escape room? Over the last couple of years, there have been a number of these escape rooms that have been coming up in Winnipeg, and it originally started in the States. The idea is that you get a group of people that you apparently like into a room, and you have to solve a number of different logic puzzles in order to escape from the room. And it's a fun game where you really learn more about your friends and more about how you solve problems. Now recently, corporate North America has turned this into something that they have been doing for team building activities. Now I know what some of you might be thinking. In your office and workplaces, there are probably a few people that you wouldn't mind leaving in a room and escaping from them. But again, this gives you a good chance to know how people work together. So I did an escape room. It wasn't for a corporate team building event, but it was actually just for some friends. And it's really interesting how people tend to self-organize in these rooms. We had about 7 people. And at first, you didn't necessarily know exactly how to approach the problem. Fortunately, we had one person who was able to take control and lead the team. And this is someone who is from HR in her real life. And she was able to talk to us and sort of figure out what each person was good at. So it turned out that one of our colleagues was really good at being able to see different clues. We had some people who were good at math. We had others who were excellent at solving logic puzzles. And so we were able to delegate each of the responsibilities in the room so that each person was focusing on their strengths. And the really neat thing is that the person who was in the lead wasn't someone who was telling everyone what to do, but instead they were asking for input from each person to figure out what the next task was. There was one final clue that we needed in order to escape the room. We are down to the crunch. You only have an hour to get out, and you only had 2 minutes left. There was a problem that had 5 different numbers, and we were missing 2 of them. We could figure out if we had one more number, we could figure out the rest of the code, but we didn't have one. So one of our analytical people was trying to figure out how to do the algebra in order to solve for 2 different variables. It was 90 seconds left, 1 minute left. Just as things were right down to the wire, one person who was more of an out-of-the-box thinker noticed that there was one briefcase that we hadn't opened. They opened the briefcase and found the clue that we needed in order to crack the code and get out of the room in time. Again, we had someone with analytical strengths that was helping other people that had mathematical strength, and then some people who were more big picture thinkers and were able to add to that. Now, what does this have to do with team building? Well, for one, in the escape room scenario, we had a person who took charge. Now, in your workplaces, you really hope that the person that takes charge to lead the team is also the one who is the most competent. Unfortunately, what often happens is that the person who most desires control over the team is the person that's the least qualified to do it. And when that person is very driven and leads by instruction and direction and authority rather than by collaboration and empowerment, then you run into problems, because then your project can completely go off track. Marcus Buckingham wrote a book called Now Discover Your Strengths, and in that he talks about the performance appraisal culture and how a lot of performance appraisals are based on, this is what you don't do well, let's work at you doing that a little bit better. What Buckingham feels is that we need to flip the script. We need to take a look at people's strengths, and he categorizes it in terms of 36 different strengths. For instance, there's one strength that has to do with people who learn material very quickly. There are people who are more mathematically adept, and there are people who are strategic thinkers. And instead of telling someone who's a strategic, big picture, outside the box thinker that they need to be more structured and detailed, you instead give them assignments and tasks that use their ability to think strategically. This is part of empowering your team. Empowerment is something that everyone has heard about as a management buzzword, But what it means is being able to give up some of your authority to your team members so that they can make their own decisions within their sphere of influence. When you have the controlling manager who makes all the decisions for you, people don't feel empowered. They lose their motivation. They can't move forward. But as part of empowering your team, you also have to be willing to give up a little bit of control. That means that each team member can focus on areas that work on their strengths, and then they can bring those to the collection. In the escape room, there's no way that we would be able to get out if everyone was going in a different direction. But we had a leader that recognized each person had a different thing to offer. Each person had a different strength that they could bring to the table. And as a result, we worked together, we focused on strengths, and we were able to lead ourselves out of the room. In your management career, in your projects, you need to also be thinking of a strengths-based mentality, trying to build people up, give them things that they're good at, and then their success will surprise you. Gotcha.